You're tuned in to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
That's not to say that they don't respect the run game that you have, but you're talking about one quarterback leading the conference in passing so far this year. And remember, he didn't start the first game.
All right.
Still played a lot, though.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
I just don't want to disappoint you. As much as I disappoint you, I don't want to disappoint you in some things that you expect from me.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
Thank you for being with us with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Yates Flooring Center chat line is open. Go to the Double T 97.3 mobile app presented by Happy State Bank. Benchmark hotline is open as well. 806-771-0973. The early returns off the Yates Flooring Center chat line have been Mike Leach related. Y'all have any updates on Coach Leach? Doesn't sound good. No, it does not, but don't have any official updates. I think there's been so much conjecture and rumor and heard this, heard that on message boards that my preference is to wait for official stuff. That we're the people that are in the know that have released something, whether it's his wife or his family or his doctors or his current employer, Mississippi State University. They've come out and made an announcement that he was rushed to the hospital, airlifted to a hospital. Dire situation is what it sounds like, obviously. They've named basically an interim, their defensive coordinator. They did that very early in the day yesterday, so you knew that things were not well for him. But there's been so much, hey, I heard this, hey, I heard that, hey, I heard this, that you don't want to. Being first doesn't always necessarily mean being right. So.
No. Man, that is no truer words have ever been spoken.
So,
and I mean, and when you're talking about people losing their life, are you really wanting to be first?
No. I mean,
if you are, you're sick.
Not me personally. No,
you're sick.
No. Obviously, there's a lot of concern for him for. So many different reasons. But most importantly of all is just, 61 years old is very young in today's standard. Mm-hmm. And you think about a guy that Saturday was coaching his football team, and Sunday, I don't know the circumstances of if he was at home watching football or just at home and had a heart attack and his wife was gone. I have no idea what the circumstances were or how long that he was out or anything along those lines. So at any rate, just, suffice to say, monitor the situation as best we can and pass it along to you when we can. But I'm just not going to be into the rumor mill. I'm going to look at it and be aware of it. But, when it comes to the actual reporting of it, don't need to be the one that's, spreading those things. You can say what you've heard, but at any rate, that's what I know at this point in time. It does not, like I said, doesn't sound good. But the good news, if there's good news to be had, it's that we haven't heard the bad news, right?
Yeah, and the news that you have heard, and it's kind of scary.
Yeah.
It really is, because it feels like it could lead to really bad news. But we all just can hope and pray at this point.
Right.
Hope it goes well.
Right. 6:35 this morning here on the Morning Drive. How about this? Lots made of Tom Brady and his age, 45 and maybe even playing at 46. Did not have the best of days yesterday.
No, he did not.
With what transpired. But before we get into that, Jaromir Jagr, remember him?
Uh-huh.
So he's 50 years old. He'll be 51 soon. Hasn't played in the NHL since 2017, so he was basically 45. Well, he owns a team in Czechoslovakia, the Klado Knights, and apparently they had widespread illness that has been decimating the roster. And so yesterday he had to play. He suited up because they didn't have enough guys. And if he didn't suit up, they were going to have to forfeit. It would have been their second forfeit. So he had a pair of assists in 15 minutes of ice time.
Good work.
They still lost 7-3, but he played, and of course, he would have a couple of assists. Think
he sent the highlight to Wayne Gretzky?
That would make you wonder, right? But here's the thing that it does to him, unfortunately for him now, and he had played some last April as well, so it's not like this is absolutely brand new, but it was new for him this year. But it delays his enshrinement into the Hockey Hall of Fame until at least 2026. That does not seem fair.
I agree.
Does not seem fair.
It's not like he's playing in the NHL.
Right. And in terms of his career since the NHL, he's played for Clodno, which is the team he owns. 26 goals, 70 points over 110 career games since the 2017-18 season. But it doesn't seem fair that he's trying to just help his team out and kind of being a good boss, so to speak, and like, okay, whatever I'm asking you to do, I'm going to do too. So if you're playing hurt or playing sick, then I'm going to join the fray. And as a result, it delays him a little bit. So that's too bad. But I mean, he's going to get in. We all know that, right? It's Captain Obvious. I mean, Jaromir Jagr. I mean, good God. I mean, you don't even have to be very much of a hockey fan to remember that name and know that he. When you think about, okay, is he a Hall of Famer? It's like. It's not even.
Well, I would still tell you, I don't know because I'm not that big of a hockey fan. I know that I know his name.
Yeah, that's my point.
So I assume he's a superstar.
Yeah. You know his name. 6:38 this morning here on the morning drive. I had this to talk about with you, and I don't think we're going to have just enough time, but I do want to get to this, and we'll get your opinion on this. So think about this. There was a Georgia high school state championship game where it was quite clear on third down that the guy was stopped well short of the goal line. The officials called it a touchdown, and the team wins 21-17. Sandy Creek does. This is out of Georgia, Class 3A school. And you can see on the highlight that it's an egregious error. Now, they would have had one more down from about the 2-yard line, and there was less than a minute to play. And so the good part of the good sportsman in me, and I'm not always the best sportsman, says the other team should say, hey, let's go back and replay that fourth down, but you can't do that. But it's just really, really unfortunate when a state championship game is decided because of an officiating error like that.
That's where you really wish they had replay.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially when they have TV there, right? Mm-hmm. But it is one of those things.
Your morning blend of sports.
K-State is coming off a big win over Oklahoma. Of course, the Red Raiders off their 37-34 overtime win over number 22 Texas.
And humor.
Sure to tell them that. You suggested that. And of course, they got a big laugh.
This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3. Catch the show live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Double T 97.3 FM or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app.
Today is the 12th day of the 12th month of the 22nd year, 12/12/22. Here's Jeff McGuire.
Not a ton today.
Okay.
But I've got something that I'm very more interested now than I didn't even know it existed earlier.
Okay.
So that's coming up in history.
Okay.
1930, Baseball Rules Committee greatly revises the rule book, Jamie. A bouncing ball into the stands is not a home run anymore. Now it's a double.
It's a double. Okay. So for a while, that counted as a four-bagger.
Correct.
Yeah.
But because it's in the book, it's a book rule double.
Don't get people mad at me, Jeff.
Yeah, I like it.
It's early on a Monday for people to be hating on Jamie.
Yeah, we don't want anybody hating on Jamie.
1965, Chicago halfback Gale Sayers ties an NFL record for most touchdowns in a game with 6 in a 61-20 victory over the San Francisco 49ers at Wrigley Field. 1968, Arthur Ashe becomes the first black person to be ranked number 1 in tennis.
Cool.
1976, quarterback Joe Namath, last game as a New York Jet. I guarantee it.
Okay.
That's
Right, got it.
If you ever watch any of his commercials, that's in all of his commercials. For an obvious reason. But 1982, Australian Open women's tennis. Chris Everett Lloyd wins her first Australian title. Beats Martina Navratilova 6-3, 2-6, 6-3.
82. That seems awful late in her career to win her first Australian.
Maybe she just didn't have any luck there.
Yeah, those things happen, right?
1987, Mookie Blaylock sets an NBA record of 13 steals in a single game. 1991, New York Jets set an NBA record of 22 blocks, beating the Nuggets 121-81. And in 1997, Red Sox signed Pedro Martinez to a record 6-year deal for $69 million. Total. Like, not a year. Like, just total. I feel like I have to be a little specific when it comes to pitchers. It is National Coca Day.
Coca, like in...
As in, like, hot, the plant.
Cocoa Puffs?
No, like the thing that gives you the chocolate.
I understand that. I understand. I was just thinking about... It made me think of hot chocolate, but it also made me think of Cocoa Puffs.
Well, all of those eventually started there.
Right.
Unless they were artificially flavored. Mm-hmm. It's also National Ambrosia Day. And if you don't know what ambrosia is, you actually do. It's that fruit salad thing that comes around this time of year with the marshmallows and the coconuts and the cherries and the nuts and the fruit thing.
Oh, okay.
That holiday smorgasbord of fruit. And
would you call it a fruit cake then? Is it a genesis?
I would call it an ambrosia because that's what its name is.
Okay.
Well, it's also a really good freshman guard for Monterey's girls basketball team.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Happy birthday to Bob.
I don't know if she was named after the fruit salad thing or just
it's a fun name.
But she's really good.
Happy birthday to Bob Barker, who turns 99 years old today.
Wow. Come on down.
Jennifer Conley is 52, and Tyron Smith is 32. And on this day in history, in 1963, a vinyl long-playing record, also known as an LP, called John Fitzgerald Kennedy, A Memorial Album, sets a record for album sales, a total of 4 million copies sold in the first 6 days of its release. The album, released on the Premiere label, included recordings from some of Kennedy's most memorable speeches, as well as memorable tributes to the president's broadcast in the aftermath of the assassination of November 22nd. The recordings including excerpts from his inaugural address, his campaign debate with Richard Nixon, as well as highlights from his speeches on a variety of topics, from civil rights to space to the Cuban Missile Crisis. Each copy costed just 99 cents.
Goodness.
And the proceeds went to the Joseph Kennedy Jr. Foundation for Mental Retardation. Although Kennedy remains one of the most beloved and documented presidents in American history, the album itself has not yet garnered any value for collectors. In 2006, a mint copy of the album fetched $15 on several internet auction sites. This may be because most of his speeches are on YouTube. But you could get a mint condition album for $20.
And originally it cost 99 cents? Mm-hmm. Wonder what the cost of production was in those days. Maybe 50 cents?
I'd be surprised if it was 50.
Yeah, me too. So you think about the money that it generated, a couple $1 million in 1963. The other thing that struck me was, so it was released on this day, and so we're talking less than 3 weeks after the assassination. Basically 20 days after the assassination.
Put it together quick.
Yeah.
And that is this day in sports history.
Thank you, Jeff. Going back to Chris Everett Lloyd for just a second. She was Chris Everett Lloyd for a period of time, and then Chris Everett, and then she married another guy, married Greg Norman for a brief period of time, which was really strange. Anyway, her first singles championships in the Grand Slam events, she won the French in 74, Wimbledon in 74, and the U.S. Open in 75. And so when you think about the Australian winning it in 82, she also won it in 84. Her last French Open title was in 86. So it was late in her career, when she won her first Australian Open. And I have no idea if she played in all those other years or not. There might have been a situation where she didn't play in some of those
Maybe.
Early on in her career. But anyway, I just thought that was interesting. Okay. 6:53 this morning here on the Morning Drive. Take your thoughts and comments on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. Go to WT973.com for that, or the mobile app. We'll have High School Fan Zone on tonight. Coaches from Estacado, Coronado, and Monterey will visit at 6 o'clock from 6 until 7, and then that leads us into Monday Night Football tonight on 100.7 The Score. You'll hear from Texas Tech basketball coach Mark Adams tonight on Red Raider Basketball with Mark Adams. They're in action tomorrow. They'll take on Eastern Washington. Boy, this basketball season seems strung out so far on both the men's and the women's side. Neither one played this past weekend. They're in the finals break right now. That'll end, obviously, tomorrow, and then for the ladies, they'll play on Wednesday. Just seems like it's kind of drug along a little bit here over the last couple of weeks with a
just
game,
hasn't been a lot of games.
Game here and a game there, right?
This is the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3, getting you ready for today's sports day.
3 of the first 4 games have been at home, so at some point in time you're going to have to venture outside the 806. So that'll start this week,
While having a little fun along the way.
Always good if you can blame it on somebody else, right?
Yeah, sure.
Especially some media guy.
Sure. Right, some media guy.
Catch the show live weekday mornings from 6 to 9 on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
Thank you for being with us with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Take your thoughts and comments this morning on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. We'll have Red Raider basketball with Mark Adams tonight at 6. So look forward to hearing what the head coach has got to say. They announced the Heisman Trophy winner over the weekend. Any thoughts on Caleb Williams winning?
I was shocked.
Were you?
I really was. I thought Max Duggan had it.
Yeah. Do you think if Max Duggan played for USC, he'd have won?
Possibly. I don't know.
Or was it just not enough? Jeff, were you surprised by that?
They would require me paying enough attention to it. They have.
I got to be honest with you. I didn't know until about 3 o'clock yesterday afternoon.
It really comes.
I was like, oh yeah, they named a Heisman. I needed to look to see who that was.
Okay.
It's nothing against the guys that were up for it. I thought they were all deserving, but they have made the award less meaningful than it used to be, being the Heisman voters. It's no longer the best player in college football, which is what it was supposed to be. It's turned into the best quarterback, and sometimes they'll mention a running back. But that on the best team. So they have done this to themselves. They have made me lose interest in their award. I don't think it should be gotten rid of. I don't think it has the luster it used to.
When was it not that?
It's always been kind of a skill position, player.
When was it not that? The best quarterback or running back or receiver on one of the best teams?
15 years ago?
When? Okay, when Charles Woodson won it 1 year.
Well, he was. Woodson's kind of the cheating answer because of what he did with.
And I thought it was ridiculous because Peyton Manning, I thought, was head and shoulder should have won it, but it was like everybody, like Jeff. Well, I wanted to not be a quarterback, and Peyton Manning was a layup, in my opinion.
Sure, right.
And he doesn't win it. Was it? I don't know. I just it's been that way forever. I just don't think I don't think it's become that. I think it's what it's always been.
Yeah, it's just not as I don't know, for whatever reason.
Nobody's voting for an offensive lineman on that.
Yeah, not as compelling maybe as it used to be.
But it's the okay, and this is going to sound ridiculous. Had Patrick Mahomes played at Alabama, he'd have been the Heisman Trophy winner.
Well, he won more games. And so he would have, probably so. I mean, Robert Griffin III was on like an 8-4 team when he won it.
And it took everybody else in front of him losing and him getting on that hot streak at the end of the season with Baylor.
Well, they lost 4 times that year. And so that was not the best player on the best team. He was just a freak athlete on a pretty good team.
Yeah. The consolation prize for Max Duggan is he won the Davey O'Brien Award, named after the former TCU quarterback, and Max Duggan becomes the first TCU quarterback to win the Davey O'Brien Award. There's a little consolation for him.
Super excited for him. I think I want to. This is great on Horned Frog 97.3.
Oh yeah, no. I just was trying to offer just a little bit of insight.
Yeah, no, I follow you. It's as much as I wanted Duggan to. No, I shouldn't say that. As much as I thought Duggan was going to win, I didn't want him to win. I didn't want TCU to have a Heisman Trophy.
Sure, no, I'm with you on that. I don't want them to have any more success than they already.
But I did feel like he deserved it. I felt like he did more with less.
Okay.
Compared to those other guys.
And maybe if he'd have been the quarterback from the very beginning, he came in, a couple games into the season,
I thought it was in the first game.
Maybe the first game. Okay.
He didn't start, but he
didn't
came.
Start. He came in right away. Yeah.
Yeah.
How do you feel about this? I think I'm maybe more bothered by this than you guys are. More players have announced that they're not going to be a part of their bowl team, including the Texas trio of Bijan Robinson, Rashawn Johnson, and DeMarvion Overshone. They will skip the Alamo Bowl as well. Am I more bothered by this than you guys? Or have you just come to accept it and it's just the way it is?
That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, it's just me. I try not to get bent out of shape about things that I know are going to happen. Mm-hmm. So just move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Roll your eyes and move on.
Yeah. Do you think there should be any kind of NIL consequence for players that do choose to just quote and move on?
You're treating the NIL like the schools have some control over it.
I think
or the people that are doing it
here. Let's not be naive here.
Texas Tech cannot take away the money from somebody.
I understand.
They can talk to the people to take the money away.
Okay, so should the people that are doling out these checks, should there be a codicil in the contract that says if you don't play all the games, then guess what? You're going to have there's a give back, or there's that last check that goes to them is more.
Okay, so if that's the line in the contract that you have to play in all the games, Tyler Shuck doesn't get his this year because he missed games because he was hurt.
I'm not talking about being injured. I'm not talking about being
Welcome to the wonderful world of NIL now, where we're figuring out how to word these contracts better.
Yeah, right. No, there's probably some truth
we get
to that.
Year one, we learn some mistakes, we make differences in year two.
Yeah.
It's just all... So much of it's just not. It's made it less fun for me, Chuck. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry for being that guy.
No, I
and so you still have disappointment or frustration about this. Shows that you still have belief and feel good about the system. Me not having an opinion about it, or I shouldn't say I don't have an opinion, but me not being bothered by it, just has shown that I've given up. I just feel differently about it now. Mm-hmm. I mean, if we have to offer to pay them more money to want to be with their teammates and help out at the bowl game, I'm sorry. I'm not into you.
It's just disappointing to me.
It is, exactly.
To see it like that.
And what will bother me more is you will see during bowl broadcast this year that guys that opted not to help their team win, to play and be with their teammates, the teams will take them with them to their bowl game. They'll be on the sideline.
Right.
The broadcasters will be pontificating about how great they are. They'll be talking about them more than they're talking about the game. They'll go over there and interview those guys and promote the heck out of those guys instead of focusing on the guys that decided to stay and fight and compete with their team.
Yeah.
And I'm not making this up because it was going on a ton last year.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be a part of the team, be gone. Don't travel out to the bowl games. Don't get the bowl swag. Be gone.
Yeah. We get this. For those players that are going to the NFL, I don't think they really care if they're missing out on the NIL money. Well, but still, there's a very small percentage of those guys that are actually going to make it.
Yes. Okay. Bijan Robinson makes 100% sense to me, I guess. I guess I finished that one. I guess because he's a running back, and it just feels like there's the potential for him to get hurt.
Sure.
But if they're no brainer getting drafted in the first few rounds, man, go. I understand. I understand. So I get it, but they shouldn't be going to the bowl games. They shouldn't be. You're not part of the team anymore.
You're not on the team anymore, right?
You're not a part of the team anymore.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to hate you for it, but you're not a part of the team anymore. Mm-hmm. So if it's about going to play, if you have to do it because you're in the portal, I get it. I understand that. If you're heading to the draft, I understand that. I get it. But I mean, it's disappointing that guys that don't want to play for their bowl game. But again, it's their choice, and so I'm trying to be accepting of that.
You're listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3, recapping the night that was in the world of sports.
A little bit later on tonight, we'll have the Astros and the Diamondbacks. That'll be at 8. And then the Rangers playing at Seattle tonight.
And also bringing some humor to your day.
Was it pretty big?
Yeah. I mean,
it's impressive?
Yeah.
Was it fascinating?
I thought it was fascinating. It kind of smelled, but I mean.
Hear the show live weekday mornings at 6 on Double T 97.3 or on the Double T 97.3 mobile app. Jamie's question of the day on Double T 97.3 is presented by Bizarre Solutions. Call them today for a free cybersecurity audit.
All right, Jamie, what kind of question do you have for me today? And Jeff McGuire and our fine listening audience.
All right, my question for you is, I'm going to go NFL today.
Okay.
What are your expectations for the Dallas Cowboys right now? How deep do you think they're going in the playoffs?
Man, that's a great question, because I looked earlier, and I'll go ahead and share this with you. That they're 10-3. I probably would have felt better before yesterday's game than after yesterday's game.
Even though they won.
Right, even though they won. If they were to play today in the playoffs, they'd be the 5th seed. They'd play the 4th seed, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If you're looking at what the Bucs did yesterday, they got shellacked by the San Francisco 49ers. It's hard to think that the Cowboys are going to slay the dragon of Tom Brady in the playoffs.
Or ever, since they've never beaten Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Ever. Mm-hmm. Like in the history of the world. Oh, and forever.
Right.
Against Tom Brady.
The other matchups would be the Giants against the Vikings, the Washington against the San Francisco 49ers and Cowboys. My expectation would be that they would win a game. I think if they don't win a game in the playoffs, I think Mike McCarthy's out. I think they could go. They could win out and be 13-3, but if they lose in the first round of the playoffs, you're gonna have a coaching change.
Okay.
Or that'd be 14-3 because they're gonna play 17 games.
So you've backed off of that a little bit, because before you said he had to get to the NFC title game or he would lose his job.
Right. So, I'm just saying, if he loses in the first round, I think he's out.
Okay.
I think if he wins in the first round, then he'll probably be back. I'm going to tell you, they're not going to win a game in the playoffs right now. They'll be done after the first round of the playoffs.
If the playoffs started today, who would they match up with?
Tampa Bay.
Tampa Bay.
I'm just saying, I think at this point in time, I was impressed that Dak was able to lead them down the field, but you have to remember it's against a 1-10 football team that's now 1-11. If they'd played anybody else yesterday that had even the faintest of a heartbeat, they would have lost that football game.
Okay.
I just don't think he's a guy that he did one of the rare things yesterday and put his team on his back in the fourth quarter and led them to a victory, which was shocking.
It's pretty hard to imagine that the Cowboys won't be the top non-division winner, correct?
Yeah.
And it would be pretty hard to believe that the Buccaneers won't be the lowest division winner.
Oh, I'm pulling for Carolina and Atlanta right now, big time though.
So it feels like that's a match made in heaven there, right? I mean, by that I mean that it's pretty much almost darn near guaranteed that the Cowboys and the Buccaneers are going to play in the first round.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
Really pulling for Carolina right now or Atlanta, either one. They're only one game back. One game tie, one game to win. We can do this, boys. Anybody but Tampa Bay. If it was anybody other than Tampa Bay, Cowboys second round, possibly even NFC Championship game. But because of the Tom Brady Tampa Bay factor, you're going to lose in the first round.
Yeah, I'm going to go around deep for the Cowboys with a win. I think they'll beat the Buccaneers. Tampa Bay is not good. Cowboys are better than Tampa Bay. So my expectation right now is that, you lose in the second round. I don't think that Mike McCarthy will lose his job over that. I mean, if you get, 12 and 5-ish, I don't think, and then you lose in the second round, I don't think he's losing his job. I think that would be crazy.
Unless there's a regular season collapse at this point, I don't think Mike McCarthy loses his job. And when I mean collapse, like don't win another game, collapse.
Yeah. So I was telling you guys earlier in the break, I don't know why, I was just kind of thinking about the Cowboys and their 10-3 record and wondering how difficult of a schedule it was. And I've been goofing on our guy Jackson Frazier all year long about the JV schedule that the Eagles have been playing this year because it feels like they've got an easy opponent every single week. And it's probably a major reason that they're 12-1 on the season. So I actually decided I was going to match up to see who had the tougher schedule between those two. Because the Cowboys are going through a stretch now where it's like really, really easy teams, right? Colts, Jags coming up this weekend. I mean, you just played the worst team in the league in the Texans. So the Cowboys' opponents so far this year, 81, 82, and 5. Just below 500. 5 ties is funny to me that they've played 5 different teams with a tie.
I know, it's crazy, right?
Okay.
I'm so ready for the NFL to change that rule from 10 minutes to full 14.
And the Cowboys actually have, of the remaining games on their schedule, this actually included yesterday's game. The Cowboys' schedule is the 5th toughest.
5th toughest.
And that included yesterday's game. 5th toughest left in the league. The Eagles, on the other hand, remember, Cowboys 81, 82, and 5, their opponents so far this year. Eagles 78, 85, and 4. So even worse. Their schedule's been even worse. They have the 19th toughest remaining schedule. For comparison's sake, the Chiefs have a pretty easy schedule, or have had one, 80, 87, and 1, and they actually have the easiest schedule left in the entire league. Their final 4 games, including last night's game or yesterday's game against the Broncos. Buffalo was the other team that I did, just because I'm a Bills fan, and I feel like their schedule has been tough. It has 89 and 79, so 8 more wins than the Cowboys have their opponents gone, and Buffalo has the 12th toughest remaining schedule. But so that's all to say the Cowboys' schedule has not been incredibly tough at 81 and 82. But neither has the Eagles. And that's obviously been a factor in their.
And the Chiefs have a very easy schedule down the stretch, too.
Yes, the easiest in the entire league.
Yeah.
So that's good for them.
It's good for them.
Yeah, so they can get that number 1 seed and put a hurting on Buffalo in the playoffs. No. They'll just a little something right there at the end. They'll get the ball back with 2 seconds left, and Mahomes will run it 98 yards for a score.
Getting your sports day started the right way. This is the Morning Drive Podcast from Double T 97.3, breaking down the biggest games.
If Texas Tech does not win the Big 12 football conference, who are you rooting for to win the conference if Tech does not win it this year?
Well, busting some chops along the way.
I hold back on sending you stuff. I mean, I'm very, very, very judicious.
We spend 3 hours a day, 5 days a week together. Why would we need to communicate during the weekends? Save it for the show.
We do. We save it for the show.
Tune into the Morning Drive live weekdays from 6 to 9 on Lubbock Sports Station, Double T 97.3.
Good morning with Jamie Lent and Jeff McGuire. I'm Chuck Heinz. Thank you for being with us today and your thoughts and comments today on the Yates Flooring Center chat line. You can keep those coming. Benchmark Hotline is open as well this morning, 806-771-0973. We come to you from the First United Bank studio, and we're frankly monitoring a couple of stories right now that so far nobody's saying anything with regard to downplaying one, and the other one you just kind of sit and hope that you're not going to hear really, really bad news. You're looking for any kind of glimmer of hope on one story. So the story that you're looking for a glimmer of hope is Mike Leach and his situation from yesterday. It seems unimaginable and shocking, as I'm sure, like to anybody that's even remotely close to him or a fan, to go from thinking, the guy was at football practice on Saturday, apparently was at some kind of media holiday party on Saturday night from what I've seen, and then yesterday apparently has a medical event. Well, he didn't apparently have, he had a medical event, apparently a heart attack, but we don't know that for sure. Some kind of a catastrophic event that has now left him into the hospital, and if you believe reports, basically fighting for his life. And then on the other hand, you have this story that is broken this morning from about 4:18 this morning that Chris Beard has been arrested on domestic violence in Austin. That was at 4:18 this morning. So man alive, you kind of run the gamut there of those two. One guy literally fighting for his life, and one guy who, if that's true, will have an awful lot to come back from. It'll be interesting to see how Texas handles that, if that's true. And of course, anybody that's accused of something has the right to defend themselves. So we'll see what. But if you're arrested for something, kind of leads you to believe that something happened that wasn't good. So a couple of stories that we're following on the fly today, and try not to get too out in front of it because don't necessarily know exactly what is transpiring, not only in Starkville, Mississippi this morning, but in Austin, Texas. But certainly news for a couple of former coaches, celebrated coaches, who right now find themselves in really, really bad situations. So, wow, it's just absolutely crazy. Kind of what you're seeing right before your eyes here as this kind of all this news develops, Jamie.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really sad about Coach Leach, and I know that there are a lot of people here that didn't like the way he exited, but I just think that was, when you're talking the history of Texas Tech football, Mike Leach is a big part of it and a big mention in that. And the guy clearly has his quirks and some issues with some stuff, and we haven't always loved the way he's handled things. There's no doubt about that. But just have always rooted for the guy, and when he left for Washington State, rooted for him there, and rooted for Mississippi State, except when they were playing us in the bowl game. And it was great to win that game, but just absolutely hate hearing that news, and hopefully he's able to keep fighting and fight through. I mean, the news doesn't seem like it's up real positive as far as the outlook. But we'll just, we can only pray and hope for the best at this point. As far as Coach Beard goes, I mean, another guy that a lot of people thought very highly of at one point, and did great things here for the Red Raiders. But this completely different deal. I mean, we can all root against Coach Beard and his Longhorns, and we can root for all bad things to happen to Coach Beard, and that's fine. But there's somebody else involved in this one, so it's not one of those great news kind of deals. Mm-hmm. It's not. You just can't be that way.
Yeah,
that's just bad karma right there. So there's another member of his household or whatever involved in this, and that's sad deal, and that's never good.
No, never good. Something I found early this morning. I mean, I'm like 4:00 this morning when I was kind of just thinking about things and today and just looking for an update on Mike Leach. I stumbled across this article. It's 3 years old, and this is behind a paid site, which I'm a subscriber of the Athletic. But you can Google. It's been out there so long that this is no longer behind their paywall. The article was written by Bruce Feldman, and it's called "A Crazy Cradle of Coaches." Mike Leach's original Texas Tech staff and team. It is. I was just skimming through it, but it is a fantastic article on his first year here and putting that together, and you're going to know virtually every name on here, from Dana Holgerson to Sonny Dykes to Cliff Kingsbury to Manny Matsakis to just basically it even talks about his administrative assistant Patty Ross, who was a Tech coach's secretary assistant for Steve Sloan, Rex Dockery, Jerry Moore, David McWilliams, and Spike Dykes, plus Mike Leach. She worked for the university until 2010. Anyway, the bottom line is it's a fantastic article, and it just gives you a complete behind-the-scenes look at kind of what took place here in that 1999 off-season to the 2000 season, and the players that were involved in terms of coaches and background and stuff like that. Anyway, it was just it was a great read, and so I'd encourage you to Google that if you have interest in that. So we'll see here what transpires with both Coach Beard and with Coach Leach today. So just unimaginable, crazy, devastating, and tragic to some degree. But Jamie's exactly right. With regard to Coach Beard, whether it was his wife or whomever, don't know.
No
Doesn't
idea.
matter.
Nope.
But somebody else was put in, sounds like, according to reports, put in harm's way to the point where a phone call had to be made, if it's the same person. So, and presumably it is. You assume that, but when you assume things, it doesn't always lead to good endings for yourself. So we'll see what happens there.
You've been listening to the Morning Drive podcast from Double T 97.3. For more from Lubbock Sports Station, go to doublet973.com.